Welcome back to Homestead Family Idaho. Spring has finally arrived and we are keeping busy with baby chicks, gardening, homeschooling, and baking. Today we are gearing up for a spring craft and charity bake sale at our neighborhood community hall. Earlier this morning, I shaped and started baking a few loaves of sourdough bread for our neighborhood bake sale fundraiser. And I'm using some discard to mix up some sourdough naan bread to go with our dinner tonight. I'll put the recipe in the description below, but it's very simple. The recipe is a half cup of sourdough discard, 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, a half cup of milk, a 1/4 cup of yogurt, I'm using Greek, a tablespoon of olive oil, and 1.5 teaspoons of salt. I just pulled a loaf of bread out of the oven and I'm scoring and baking my 4th loaf now. I also fed my sourdough discard this morning and I'm hoping to mix up 4 more loaves of sourdough bread and trying to see if I have enough time to bake them in the morning before the event. I'm only working in the morning, so if I don't have time, I will probably come back home and finish baking them and bring them over toward the middle of the day. So now I'm mixing up the sourdough chocolate chip scones. My family loves these and they use up some discard and they make a delicious, healthy treat for us. So I thought I would donate some of these as well. I will link the recipe in the description below, but they are 250 grams of all-purpose flour, 2.5 grams of sea salt, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, a stick of unsalted butter, which is grated into the recipe, 1 cup of semi-sweet chocolate chips, 125 grams of sourdough discard, 1 egg, and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract, 2 tablespoons of heavy cream, and then they are topped with a brushing of heavy cream and sanding sugar. So once you have all of the ingredients incorporated, you just stir it together. Try and get all the dry bits combined. It will take a little bit of work combining it all. So you gotta get in there with your hands and really clump that butter and sourdough discard together with that flour and get it to form into a ball, a dough. And then you can just dump it out onto the counter, and that's where you can turn it into a disc. I am making mini scones, just so I'll have more here, and I like to make mini scones for my kids as well, so they're just the perfect size. So instead of making one disc here, I've divided it into two, and each disc will make 8 mini scones. Once I get them nice and even and shaped, mostly I'm just making sure that the edges aren't too dry and crumbly so that the scones hold together better once I cut them and move them onto the parchment paper. So when you start to put them on your parchment paper, I try to kind of put them on here in a shape so that as they expand when you cook them, the sides won't come together. And these will go in the fridge to chill for an hour. Whenever I have a lot of baking to do in a day, I always like to take advantage of the proofing time or the baking time if I get a minute and try and catch up on some of the dishes so I don't have a huge mess at the end of the night. So the scones have now been chilling for an hour and the oven is nice and hot and ready for them to go in. I'm just double checking that they're not going to expand too much and touch after they start baking. And now I'm going to brush the tops with a little bit of heavy cream, and normally I would sprinkle them with some sanding sugar, but I couldn't find our sanding sugar today, so I'm just going to use a little coarse sugar and sprinkle that on top. Hopefully it will look as pretty as the sanding sugar does, but they will be delicious either way. And they'll go in the oven and bake for 20 to 25 minutes. It is now 4:30 and our naan bread is now fully proofed and ready to divide into 8 equal pieces and shaped into small balls. And then they will be covered with a kitchen towel and rest until they are ready to be cooked on the stove. While the dough is resting, I will preheat my cast iron pan for about 10 to 15 minutes. I am now going to roll the dough balls into a round shape with a 1/8 inch thickness. I definitely use a little flour on top and on my rolling pin to prevent it from sticking. The rounds are usually about 6 inches or so in diameter when they are about ready. To cook the naan bread, I place it in the skillet, cook it for about 2 minutes, and flip it. And let it cook on the other side for an additional 2 minutes. Our scones are now ready, so I'm pulling them out of the oven here, and I'll place them on a cooling rack. After about 2 minutes, you want to flip it a third time, and this is where they should start to puff up with air. And the scones look beautiful and they smell so delicious. The first naan bread is finished, and I like to place it on a towel to prevent too much moisture from building up. So I'm going to just roll out the rest of my naan bread and get those all ready for dinner. So since I am baking these for a bake sale, I'm going to package them nicely in these beautiful bags that have this nice window on the front where I will try to show my scoring design. And they have cute little stickers that say handmade on them that I use to seal the bags. I believe I picked these up on Amazon. I'll put a link in the description if you're interested. I also ordered these smaller bags to individually package these scones just to make them easier for people to pick up and purchase at the bake sale. To accompany our naan bread for dinner tonight, I have made some buttered chicken and jasmine rice. It pairs so nicely with the naan bread. And after a long day of baking, I am hungry and ready to feed my family. Thank you so much for joining me. See you next time.